Chosen one. You are not here by chance. You did not press play accidentally. Heaven arranged this moment because your prophetic scroll is being unsealed in perfect Kairos timing. What you are hearing right now was written for you before you were born, and the appointed hour has arrived. Anointed one, sense the weight of this moment. You are standing at the edge of a destined turning point, a sealed prophecy, opening a long-awaited divine unlocking that may unfold today, tonight, or within the coming hours and days. What once felt delayed was not denied. It was reserved. Heaven's clock has struck your hour. Chosen one. Scripture reminds us that for everything there is a season, Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1. And this is your season of revelation. Like the vision spoken of in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, what was written has waited for its appointed time, and now it speaks. It will not lie. It will not delay any longer. Feel this now, the stillness, the urgency, the quiet authority settling over your spirit. This is not emotion, this is alignment. Isaiah chapter 60 verse 22 declares that when the time is right, God moves swiftly. And this is that time. Anointed one, open your heart. Expect movement. Expect clarity. Expect transformation in your spirit, your body, and your circumstances. This is not just a message. This is an invocation. Heaven is speaking, and everything is about to change. Chosen. 1. Listen to me carefully now. What you are standing in is not an ordinary stretch of time. This is not another season to get through. This is a Kairos moment, a divinely appointed window where heaven leans in close and says, now. God waited for this moment to tell you everything because this is the first moment you were actually ready to hear it. You didn't just survive what you walked through, you were being written into. Every silent endurance, every unanswered prayer, every night you held it together when no one knew you were unraveling, those were not wasted pages. They were ink. They were edits. They were heaven sealing something into you that could not be rushed or exposed too early. Chosen. One here is the truth most people never hear. The final test was never about how much more you could fight. It was about whether you could surrender without collapsing, whether you could trust God without demanding explanations, whether you could carry mystery without losing your faith. That posture, quiet trust under pressure, is what signals to heaven that a vessel is ready. I've been there myself. I remember seasons where nothing looked wrong on the outside, but inside, I was negotiating with God daily, wondering if I misheard him, wondering if obedience was costing me more than it was worth, going to sleep faithful and waking up tired of being strong, and yet somehow still choosing not to walk away. That choice matters more than you know. Chosen one. Heaven does not pour weighty blessings into hands that are still clenched. God chooses vessels not based on talent, not based on visibility, but based on containment. Can this soul hold joy without arrogance? Can this heart carry abundance without resentment? Can this spirit be trusted with influence without forgetting who gave it? And hear this clearly, you were chosen because you can. You may not always feel confident. You may still wrestle with comparison. You may still look sideways at people who seem ahead and wonder why your road took longer. But comparison was part of the refining fire. Doubt was not your failure, it was your classroom. God was never threatened by your questions. He was listening to how you questioned him, whether you questioned in rebellion or in relationship. And you stayed in relationship. Tests repeat until the lesson is learned, and you learned it. You learned how to walk away from environments that applauded you but poisoned your soul. You learned how to choose peace over proving yourself. You learned how to sit with discomfort without running back to what God already pulled you out of. Those were not random decisions. Those were sealed moments. Heaven marked them. Chosen one. I need you to hear this next line with your spirit, not your emotions. You are no longer in the trial. You are in the proving ground of blessing. The life you prayed for is not coming someday. It is aligning now. But it will not arrive the way your old imagination expected. It won't be loud. It won't be chaotic. It won't require you to betray who you became. It will feel fitting, timed, clean. It will match the version of you that was forged in hidden seasons. Scripture says there is a time appointed for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1. And this is your appointed time, not because you forced it, because you were formed for it. Look at yourself now. You stand differently. You discern faster. You no longer chase what once excited you. That's not loss, that's upgrade. The blessing God is releasing requires the version of you that exists now, not the one you were when you first asked. So don't minimize your process. Don't pretend it wasn't that bad. It was heavy, it was costly, and it mattered. Chosen one. God trusted you enough to let you walk through fire without rescuing you early, because he knew you would come out refined, not resentful. And because of that, heaven is speaking your name again, not in correction, in confirmation. Chosen one. The reason passing the test felt like losing is because heaven rarely announces promotion the way the world announces success. What you experienced felt like subtraction, delay, and silence, because God was not trying to impress you. He was trying to empty you of everything that would crack under the weight of what is coming. There are seasons where heaven withholds explanation on purpose, because clarity too early would have interfered with surrender, and surrender was the key that unlocked the next door. I remember a time when doing the right thing produced the opposite result of what I expected. I watched opportunities dry up right after obedience. I watched people walk away when I chose integrity. It made no sense logically, and that confusion nearly convinced me that faith was failing. But later, I understood something sacred. God was removing the scaffolding of reassurance, so my trust could stand on its own legs. Chosen one, that same stripping happened to you. When doors stayed closed, it was not punishment, it was protection. Some rooms were not safe for the version of you that was forming. Some platforms would have amplified you before you were anchored. Heaven will always protect assignment before exposure. That is why it felt like you were overlooked while others were celebrated. You were not delayed. You were being covered. There were nights you replayed conversations, wondering if you should have spoken differently, moved faster, stayed quieter, tried harder. That mental exhaustion was part of the refining. God was teaching you to stop negotiating your worth with outcomes. He was teaching you to rest, even when results were invisible. That kind of rest cannot be learned in abundance. It is learned in the in-between. Chosen one. You were learning how to hold joy and disappointment in the same hands without letting either define you. You were learning how to love God when prayers felt unanswered, and how to keep your heart soft when bitterness would have felt justified. That is rare. That is why heaven took its time with you. The scroll that carries your assignment could only open once your spirit learned patience without numbness. You did not shut down. You did not harden. You stayed tender and discerning at the same time. That balance is not common, and it cannot be rushed. This is why the silence lasted longer than you expected. Heaven was watching how you treated people when you felt unseen, how you spoke when no one applauded, how you showed up when nothing seemed to move. You were never invisible. You were under inspection. Angels were not asking whether you were gifted. They were observing whether you were grounded, whether success would make you loud or wise, whether blessing would make you generous or guarded, whether elevation would pull you closer to God or quietly replace Him. Chosen one. Your answers were written in your daily behavior, not in dramatic moments. This is why the test did not look spiritual. It looked ordinary. Bills, relationships, delays, routines, disappointments. The sacred was hidden inside the mundane, and because you stayed faithful in ordinary days, heaven now trusts you with extraordinary responsibility. What is shifting now is not just circumstance, it is alignment. Things will begin to move because you no longer need movement to validate obedience. You are no longer chasing confirmation. You are walking in agreement. That internal shift is what marks this Kairos moment. Chosen one. The pressure you felt was not meant to break you. It was meant to reveal who you are without applause. And now that heaven has seen that clearly, the silence is lifting. Not because you demanded answers, but because you proved you could be trusted without them. Chosen one, stay present with this moment and do not rush your understanding. Revelation settles gently before it moves powerfully. What God is doing now will feel quieter than your expectations, but heavier in its impact. You are not stepping into noise, you are stepping into precision where every detail aligns because your spirit learned obedience before explanation. Trust this unfolding for nothing here is accidental, delayed or misplaced within heaven's exact timing now. Chosen one. There is a moment that comes after endurance, after silence, after obedience without reward, where heaven shifts from observing to intervening. That moment is not loud. It does not come with warning sirens or dramatic signs. It arrives quietly, almost unnoticed, because it is responding to something that already changed inside you. Long before circumstances move, alignment happens first in the unseen. And that alignment has already begun. What you are feeling lately is not restlessness without cause. It is not confusion. It is not impatience. It is the sensation of being outgrown by the season you are still standing in. Your spirit has matured faster than your environment, and heaven does not ignore that. God never leaves a soul in a place that no longer matches who they have become. Delay only exists until readiness is complete, and readiness is not about confidence, it is about capacity. Capacity is formed in hidden seasons. It is built when you learn how to carry unanswered questions without letting them poison your faith. It is built when you stop trying to control timing and start respecting it. It is built when you realize that not every door that closes is rejection, and not every open door is permission. You learnt discernment the hard way, and that discernment is now protecting you. I remember reaching a point where I stopped asking God to move things and started asking Him to steady me. That prayer changed everything. The moment I stopped begging for outcomes and started asking for alignment, the pressure shifted. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because I stopped fighting the process. Chosen one, that same internal pivot has happened in you, whether you can fully articulate it yet or not. You no longer need chaos to feel alive. You no longer chase intensity to feel purposeful. You have learned to recognize God in stillness, and that is dangerous in the best possible way. Still, people cannot be manipulated easily. Still, people are hard to rush. Still, people hear God clearly. That is why the enemy tried so hard to keep you anxious, distracted, or emotionally exhausted. But you learned how to quiet your inner world even when the outer world stayed loud. This is where the hidden scroll begins to loosen its seal. Scrolls are not opened by force. they are opened by likeness. Heaven releases instruction to those who resemble its nature. You now resemble patience, restraint, and wisdom more than you realize. That resemblance is what qualifies you. Do not misunderstand this moment. Heaven is not rewarding you for suffering. God is not impressed by pain. What heaven honors is transformation. You did not just endure hardship, you allowed it to refine you instead of define you. You did not build an identity around what you lost. You built depth around what you learned. That is why this next phase will feel different from anything before it. Things will begin to align without you chasing them. Conversations will surface naturally. Invitations will come without desperation. Opportunities will feel clean, not frantic. You will notice that what once required force now requires only agreement. That is the sign you are moving with heaven instead of ahead of it. Chosen one. There is also a release happening in how you see yourself. Shame is losing its grip. Old narratives about being behind, too late, or overlooked are dissolving. Not because someone reassured you, but because your spirit no longer agrees with those lies. Agreement is powerful. What you agree with internally shapes what you experience externally. Heaven responds quickly to inner alignment. That is why things may feel like they are accelerating suddenly. This is not random speed. This is delayed motion catching up all at once. Like a bow pulled back for a long time, release feels sudden, but it was prepared carefully. You're not stepping into something fragile. You're stepping into something measured, something built to last, something that will require stewardship, not survival. And because of that, heaven is making sure you understand one thing clearly: you do not need to rush. What is opening will not disappear if you walk slowly. It was assigned to you, not offered competitively. Stay attentive now, not anxious. Attentive. Pay attention to what feels light instead of heavy. Pay attention to what brings peace instead of adrenaline. Pay attention to where your spirit feels seen, not just needed. God often confirms direction through peace, not pressure. Chosen one. This phase is about placement. You are being positioned, not pushed, and placement happens when preparation is complete. You are not waiting anymore, you are aligning, and alignment always precedes revelation. What is unfolding will make sense without explanation. You will recognize it not because it is familiar, but because it matches who you have become. That recognition is the quiet evidence that heaven is now moving with you, not testing you anymore. Chosen one, now comes the part that requires the deepest trust, because when heaven begins to move openly, it also begins to test something new, your ability to receive without shrinking. Many can endure hardship, but far fewer can carry favor without questioning whether they deserve it. This is why some people sabotage their own breakthroughs. They are prepared to suffer, but not prepared to be seen, supported, or advanced. What you are entering will not ask you to fight. It will ask you to stand, to remain grounded while things expand, to stay humble without becoming invisible, to receive without apologizing. That may sound simple, but it requires a healed identity. And healing identity was the true work of your hidden season. I remember the first time something good arrived after a long stretch of loss. My instinct was suspicion. I waited for it to collapse. I tried to manage it carefully, afraid that leaning in fully would somehow invite disappointment. That reaction came from old survival patterns, not from wisdom. God had to teach me that receiving is also an act of faith. Chosen one. You may notice similar instincts rising now. A hesitation to celebrate too early, a temptation to downplay what is happening. a quiet fear that if you acknowledge progress, it might disappear. Be gentle with yourself in this, but do not let fear steal what obedience prepared. You are not being tested on whether you can endure loss anymore. You are being trained on how to steward increase. Increase of responsibility, increase of influence, increase of clarity, increase of connection. These are not flashy things, but they are heavy. They require maturity, not excitement. This is why heaven waited so long. You needed to become someone who would not lose yourself when life finally opens. Someone who would not abandon their values for access. Someone who would not confuse attention with assignment. That kind of steadiness is rare, and it was forged carefully in you. As this next phase unfolds, you will notice that not everyone can come with you. This is not punishment or judgment. It is simply alignment. Some people were assigned to your endurance season, not your expansion season. Honor what they gave, but do not carry guilt for outgrowing the space you shared. Growth always rearranges relationships. You may also notice that your voice carries more weight now. When you speak, people listen differently. When you move, things respond. This is not ego. It is authority earned through obedience. Authority that does not need to announce itself. Authority that comes from consistency, not charisma. Chosen one, do not rush to explain your journey to people who did not walk it with you. Explanation is not required for validation. Let fruit speak. Let peace speak. Let timing speak. God is very capable of defending what He established without your help. There will be moments where you look back and realize that what once felt like loss was actually redirection. That what once felt like delay was actually divine sequencing. That what once felt like abandonment was actually protection. These realizations will not come with regret, but with gratitude, because you will see how precisely you were guided. This is also a season of refinement in how you listen. Not every opportunity is an assignment. Not every open door is yours to walk through. You no longer need to prove availability. You need to preserve alignment. Saying no will be just as important as saying yes. Trust that God will not rush you now. He waited too long to hurry the outcome. What is coming is meant to last, and lasting things are built with care. Stay connected to the practices that sustained you in the quiet season. Prayer that is honest, reflection that is grounded, rest that is intentional. These are not things you outgrow, they are things you build on. Chosen one. Heaven has already begun to respond to your faithfulness, not because you were perfect, but because you were willing. Willing to stay when leaving was easier. Willing to believe when clarity was absent. Willing to obey when reward was delayed. That willingness has been recorded. You are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into revealed order. The fog is lifting because you no longer need it. What comes next will not demand striving, but it will require presence. Stay present. Stay teachable. Stay anchored. This is not the end of your story. It is the moment where the story begins to make sense. And as it unfolds, you will recognize that nothing was wasted, nothing was late, and nothing was accidental in heaven's design for you. Chosen one, there is a subtle shift that happens when heaven moves from preparation into activation, and it is often misunderstood. Activation does not feel like explosion. It feels like responsibility settling into place. It feels like clarity replacing urgency. It feels like knowing when to move and when to remain still without anxiety filling the space in between. This is where you are now. You are not waiting for permission anymore. You are learning discernment at a higher level. What once felt like pressure has begun to feel like focus. What once felt like striving has softened into intention. That is not accidental. That is evidence that your spirit has come into agreement with divine timing. Agreement is powerful. When your inner posture aligns with heaven's rhythm, resistance dissolves. Things move not because you force them, but because you are no longer standing in the way of what God has already decided. I want to speak plainly here because this part requires honesty. There were moments in your past where if God had released what you asked for, it would have crushed you. Not because you were weak, but because you were still measuring yourself by external outcomes. You were still tying your sense of worth to how things looked, not to who you were becoming. Heaven delayed not to deny you, but to protect you from success that would have demanded a version of you that was not yet healed. Chosen one, you have now crossed that threshold. You are no longer seeking identity through results. You are bringing identity into results. That is the difference between chasing blessing and stewarding it. One exhausts the soul, the other strengthens it. You may notice now that you are less reactive, less easily offended, less shaken by opinions that once mattered deeply. That does not mean you stopped caring. It means you stopped outsourcing your peace. Peace has become an internal practice, not a reward. That is why heaven can trust you with environments that would destabilize others. You are not easily pulled off center anymore. This is also why discernment is sharpening. You are seeing beneath words now. You are sensing motive without paranoia. You are recognizing alignment without needing constant confirmation. That is a sign of maturity. Immature discernment looks like suspicion. Mature discernment looks like calm clarity. And calm clarity is what protects you in seasons of expansion. There will be moments where you are tempted to explain yourself, to justify your choices, to help others understand why your path looks the way it does. Resist that urge. Explanation often comes from insecurity, not wisdom. Those who are meant to understand will recognize you without translation. Those who are not will misunderstand you no matter how carefully you explain. Chosen one. This is a season to let silence do some of the work for you. Silence is not absence. It is authority that does not need to announce itself. You learned the power of silence in your hidden season. Do not abandon it now just because things are opening. As alignment continues, you will notice that your prayers are changing. You are asking fewer questions and making clearer requests. You are no longer asking God to fix everything. You are asking Him to direct you. That shift matters. Direction requires partnership. Fixing requires rescue. Heaven responds differently to those who are ready to walk, not just be carried. You are also becoming more selective with your energy, not out of fear, but out of respect for what you carry. You understand now that your attention is valuable. Where you give it, you build something. And you are no longer willing to build in places that do not honor the work God has done in you. Chosen one, do not confuse this selectivity with isolation. You are not withdrawing. You are refining access. There is a difference. Isolation comes from wounds. Refinement comes from wisdom. You are operating from wisdom now. What is being activated in this season is not just opportunity, but stewardship. You are being trusted with timing, with people, with influence, with resources, with words. That trust was earned through consistency, not intensity. Heaven watched how you handled little things when no one else noticed. That observation did not end. It matured into confidence. You may feel moments of quiet awe as you realize that certain struggles no longer have power over you. Patterns that once repeated have lost their grip. Triggers that once controlled you have softened. That is healing made visible, and healing is the foundation of sustainable growth. Chosen one, allow yourself to receive this moment without suspicion. Let gratitude replace anxiety. Gratitude keeps you grounded while things rise. Anxiety pulls you back into survival mode. You no longer live there. Stay present. Stay honest. Stay connected. You're not being rushed. You're being trusted. And trust is the highest form of promotion in the spirit. Chosen one, as this next phase unfolds, there is something essential you must understand. Activation does not mean arrival. It means responsibility has increased. Many mistake momentum for completion, but heaven thinks in terms of legacy, not moments. What is opening now is not a finish line. It is an invitation into deeper partnership. Partnership with God requires attentiveness, not striving, not constant activity. Attentiveness, the ability to listen without panic, the ability to pause without guilt, the ability to act without needing applause. These qualities were cultivated in you quietly over time through seasons that felt repetitive and unrewarding. Those seasons were not empty, they were training grounds. You may notice that your sense of urgency has changed. You still care deeply, but you are no longer frantic. That shift is protection. Frantic energy attracts misalignment. Calm confidence attracts clarity. Heaven moves through clarity. There will be moments where doors open faster than you expected. When that happens, resist the urge to overcommit. Discernment is more important than enthusiasm. Just because you can do something does not mean you should. Capacity without wisdom leads to burnout. Wisdom without capacity leads to frustration. You are learning balance now. Chosen one, do not underestimate the power of saying no in this season. No preserves focus. No protects what matters. No makes room for the assignments that actually carry weight. You spent too long surviving to waste energy proving availability. You may also find yourself grieving certain versions of your past self, not with regret, but with tenderness. You will see how much you carried without support, how much you believed without evidence, how much you endured quietly. That grief is not weakness. It is compassion for who you were. Honor that version of yourself. They brought you here. As things become clearer, you may feel a deeper responsibility to live with integrity, not just publicly, but privately. Integrity is alignment between who you are when seen and who you are when unseen. Heaven trusted you with obscurity first, because obscurity reveals integrity faster than visibility ever will. Chosen one. The people who are meant to walk with you now will feel different from those before. Conversations will be deeper, silences will be comfortable, mutual respect will replace competition. That is alignment in relationships. Do not force connections out of nostalgia. Honor what was, but walk forward with what is forming. There will also be moments where you feel stretched again. Do not panic. Stretching is not regression, it is expansion. Growth always requires adjustment. The difference now is that stretching will no longer feel like breaking. It will feel purposeful. You may be tempted to look back and count how long everything took. Resist that. Timing is not a measure of worth. Some things take longer because they carry more weight. Quick growth often collapses. Slow growth endures. You are built for endurance. Chattusan. Heaven is not testing whether you can handle stress anymore. It is watching how you handle influence. Influence is not always public. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is relational. Sometimes it is simply being present in spaces where truth matters. Steward influence carefully. Do not cheapen it by seeking attention. Stay rooted in what sustained you when nothing was happening. Practices that grounded you, prayers that were honest, moments of stillness that recalibrated you. Those are not relics of your past season. They are anchors for your future. As alignment continues, you will feel less need to convince anyone of what God is doing in your life. Peace will replace explanation. Confidence will replace comparison. Presence will replace performance. These are signs of spiritual maturity. Chosen one, trust that what is unfolding has been measured precisely. Nothing is late, nothing is rushed, nothing is random. Heaven does not improvise with destiny. It reveals it when the vessel is ready. You are ready not because you feel fearless, but because you learned how to move with faith even when fear whispered loudly. That lesson will continue to serve you. Do not look for drama as proof of significance. The most significant shifts often feel ordinary at first. They reveal their weight over time. Let time work with you, not against you. Stay open, stay grounded, stay aligned. What comes next will unfold naturally, and when you look back, you will recognize this season not as the moment everything exploded, but as the moment everything finally settled into place. Chosen one. There comes a stage in every divinely ordered journey where heaven shifts its language with you. In the early seasons, God speaks in promises. In the middle seasons, He speaks in silence. But in mature seasons like this one, He speaks through responsibility. What you're sensing now is not pressure from the outside, but an inner awareness that your choices carry greater consequence than before. That awareness is not fear, it is weight. And weight is given only to those trusted to carry it. You may notice that distractions no longer satisfy you the way they once did. Conversations that lack depth feel draining. Activities that once felt exciting now feel empty. This is not judgment, it is refinement. Your spirit has outgrown environments that do not feed it. Heaven is narrowing your focus not to limit you, but to protect the potency of what you carry. Diffused light warms. Focused light transforms. I remember realizing that I could no longer afford careless decisions, even small ones. Not because I was afraid of making mistakes, but because I could feel how interconnected everything had become. One choice affected 10 others. One yes reshaped a week. One no preserved months of peace. That sensitivity is not weakness. It is discernment, sharpening through experience. Chosen one, that same sensitivity is awakening in you now. This is why you may feel less impulsive and more deliberate. You're no longer reacting to life. You are responding to it. Reaction comes from wounds. Response comes from wisdom. Wisdom pauses. Wisdom listens. Wisdom weighs before it moves. And wisdom understands that timing is just as important as action. You are also becoming more honest with yourself. Old self-deceptions are losing their grip. You can no longer pretend you are fine when you are not, or tolerate what drains you simply to keep peace. True peace does not come from avoidance. It comes from alignment. And alignment sometimes requires uncomfortable honesty, first with yourself, then with others. Chosen one, do not be surprised if certain patterns resurface briefly, as if to test whether they still have access to you. This is not regression. It is confirmation. What once controlled you may knock, but you no longer have to answer. The difference now is not that temptation disappeared, but that authority has increased. You are no longer fighting from desperation. You are choosing from clarity. This season will also teach you restraint. Not everything you see needs to be addressed. Not every wrong needs your correction. Not every opportunity needs your involvement. Discernment will show you where your presence is required and where your absence is more powerful. That discernment protects your energy and preserves your effectiveness. You may find that God is asking you to trust Him with outcomes more deeply than before, not just spiritually, but practically. Trusting Him with timing, with provision, with relationships, with reputation. This level of trust is quieter but stronger. It does not panic when things take time. It does not unravel when plans shift. It rests in the knowledge that nothing escapes divine oversight. Chosen one. You are learning how to carry responsibility without carrying anxiety. That lesson alone changes everything. Anxiety rushes. Responsibility waits. Anxiety demands certainty. Responsibility moves with faith. Anxiety reacts to noise. Responsibility listens for truth. Heaven trusts those who can remain steady when variables change. As this steadiness grows, you will notice that others may begin to seek your presence, not because you have all the answers, but because you carry calm. Calm is rare. Calm is contagious. Calm creates space for truth to surface. That is influence born from character, not charisma. Do not feel pressured to become more visible than you are meant to be. Visibility is a tool, not a requirement. God will position you where you are needed when you are needed. Your job is not to manufacture relevance, but to remain faithful to alignment. Relevance fades. Alignment endures. Chosen one. This is a season of internal authority becoming external order. What has been settled within you will begin to reorder what is around you. That process will feel natural, not forced. You will not have to announce it. Others will sense it. Stay attentive. Stay grounded. Stay honest. You're not being tested anymore. You're being entrusted. And entrustment always carries quiet weight. Chosen one. As you move deeper into this entrusted season, you will begin to recognize something subtle but powerful. Life is no longer teaching you who you are. It is inviting you to live from who you have become. That shift changes everything. You are no longer defining yourself through reaction to circumstances. You are expressing yourself through alignment with truth. This is where spiritual maturity becomes visible, not through language or knowledge, but through consistency. You show up the same in private as you do in public. You honor your word even when it costs you. You choose integrity even when shortcuts are available. These decisions may feel quiet, but they are shaping a future that is stable, not fragile. There may be moments where you feel misunderstood again, but it will feel different than before. It will not wound you deeply. It will simply clarify who is meant to walk with you in this next chapter. Misunderstanding no longer threatens your identity because your identity is no longer up for debate. That inner security is one of the greatest outcomes of your long preparation. I remember the relief of realizing I did not need everyone to agree with me in order to move forward. That relief freed enormous energy. Energy that had been wasted on explanation and defense could finally be invested in creation and stewardship. Chosen one, that same release is happening for you now. This season is also teaching you how to hold both humility and confidence at the same time. Humility without confidence leads to invisibility. Confidence without humility leads to instability. Balance creates longevity. You are learning to stand firmly without becoming rigid, to stay open without becoming vulnerable to misuse. You may notice that your prayers are quieter now, but deeper. Less about asking, more about listening. Less about urgency, more about alignment. This is not a lack of passion, it is a refinement of focus. God often speaks most clearly when we stop filling the space with words. There will be practical changes as well. Your routines may shift. Your priorities may reorder. You may simplify areas of your life that once felt crowded. Simplification is not loss, it is preparation. Clear space makes room for what actually matters. Chosen one, you are also learning how to forgive without reopening doors. Forgiveness is internal freedom, not external access. That distinction protects your heart while keeping your spirit clean. Old wounds lose their influence when they no longer dictate your boundaries. As you continue forward, trust that God is as involved in the small details as He is in the big picture. Nothing is beneath His care. Nothing is too ordinary to be used. Often the most significant shifts happen quietly, woven into daily faithfulness rather than dramatic moments. Do not underestimate the power of staying steady when excitement fades. Excitement is temporary. Steadiness builds legacy. Heaven is far more interested in what you can sustain than what you can start. Chosen one, there is no rush now. What is unfolding has its own rhythm, and that rhythm matches who you have become. You are no longer chasing alignment. You are living from it. Stay rooted, stay aware, stay surrendered. This season is not about becoming someone new. It is about fully inhabiting the person you were formed to be, and as you do, life will continue to arrange itself around that truth, naturally, deliberately, and in perfect order. Chosen one, there is a quiet authority that settles into a soul once it has stopped asking life to prove anything, and that authority is beginning to anchor itself within you now. You may not be able to name the shift clearly, but you feel it in how you move, how you decide, how you no longer panic when something does not resolve immediately. This is not detachment. This is grounded faith. It is the result of walking long enough with God to know that urgency is rarely divine and that what is meant for you cannot miss you. There was a time when uncertainty would keep you awake, when unanswered questions felt like threats, when silence felt like abandonment. But now, silence has changed its tone. It no longer feels empty. It feels spacious. It feels like room has been made for something to arrive without resistance. That change did not happen overnight. It was built slowly through disappointments you did not advertise and prayers you whispered when no one else was listening. I remember realizing one day that I was no longer arguing with God internally. I was no longer rehearsing explanations or defending my decisions in my mind. That internal noise had faded, replaced by a steadiness I had never known before. Nothing outside had dramatically changed yet, but everything inside had. That was the moment I understood that alignment always precedes manifestation. Chosen one, that moment has arrived for you too. You are no longer driven by the need to be validated by outcomes. Success no longer defines you, and failure no longer terrifies you. This does not mean you stopped caring. It means you started caring from the right place. When identity is settled, effort becomes focused rather than frantic. You do not scatter your energy anymore. You invest it. This is why your patience now carries weight. It is not passive waiting. It is active trust. It is the kind of patience that knows when to speak and when to stay silent, when to move and when to pause. That discernment was learned the hard way through seasons where moving too soon would have cost you dearly. Heaven allowed you to feel that tension so you would learn restraint without resentment. Chosen one, you are also learning how to let things unfold without controlling the narrative. There was a time when you needed clarity before peace. Now peace arrives even when clarity does not. That is spiritual maturity. Faith no longer depends on knowing the outcome. It rests in knowing the one who holds it. As this maturity deepens, you may notice that certain desires have changed shape. You still want meaningful things, but you want them cleanly without compromise. You're no longer willing to trade your inner stability for external gain. That boundary is sacred. It was carved through experience, not theory. There may be moments where you feel slightly out of sync with people around you, not because you are better, but because your rhythm has changed. You move more deliberately now. You listen more than you speak. You observe patterns instead of reacting to moments. This can feel lonely at times, but it is not isolation. It is preparation for deeper connection with those who move at a similar pace. I remember feeling that shift and mistaking it for loss. I thought something was missing. Later, I realized nothing was missing. Something was maturing. Not every season is loud. Some are quiet because they are stabilizing what will eventually carry weight. Chosen one. This is also a season where you are being invited to trust yourself again. Not your impulses, but your discernment. Not your fears, but your wisdom. God has been forming your inner compass for a long time. He does not intend for you to ignore it now. Trust does not mean independence from God. It means partnership with Him through the wisdom He placed within you. You may find yourself making decisions more confidently without needing excessive reassurance. That confidence is not arrogance. It is alignment. When inner and outer worlds agree, decision-making becomes clearer. You are no longer torn between what feels right and what looks acceptable. You choose what aligns, even if it is quieter. This phase also brings a deeper sense of responsibility for how you show up in ordinary moments. You are more aware of the impact of your words, your tone, your presence. You understand now that influence is not always dramatic. Often, it is subtle, shaping environments slowly through consistency and integrity. Chosen one, do not underestimate the power of the small, faithful choices you continue to make. The discipline to rest when needed. The courage to speak truth gently. The wisdom to walk away from unnecessary conflict. These are not insignificant. They are the building blocks of a life that will not collapse under pressure. As you continue forward, there may be moments when old fears attempt to resurface, questioning whether stability will last or whether peace can be trusted. When that happens, do not fight the fear aggressively. Acknowledge it, then return to truth. Fear often appears when identity shifts because it senses loss of control. But fear does not get the final word anymore. You are not walking blindly. You are walking attentively. Attentiveness allows you to notice what others miss, to adjust without panic, to respond rather than react. That skill will serve you well in the days ahead. Chosen one. This is a season of embodiment. You are no longer learning lessons conceptually. You are living them. Faith is no longer something you talk about. It is something you practice quietly daily without spectacle. That kind of faith does not seek recognition, but it carries authority. As this authority settles, you will notice that certain struggles lose their urgency. They may still exist, but they no longer dominate your inner landscape. You are learning to hold complexity without becoming overwhelmed by it. That capacity is rare and valuable. Do not rush to label this season or define it prematurely. Let it reveal itself through experience. Meaning often becomes clearer in hindsight. For now, remain present. Presence keeps you grounded in what is real instead of what is imagined. Chosen one. You are not standing at the edge of something fragile. You are standing within something solid that is still forming. Trust the process you are already in. It has carried you this far with precision. Stay steady. Stay honest. Stay receptive. What unfolds from here will build naturally upon what has already been established within you, and as it does, you will recognize that this season was not about change, but about becoming anchored enough to carry what has been prepared for you all along. Chosen one. There is a quiet confidence that emerges when a soul realizes it no longer needs to rush destiny to feel safe, and that confidence is settling into you now. You may still feel movement ahead, but it no longer feels like pressure chasing you from behind. It feels like direction pulling you forward. This is the difference between being driven by fear and being led by alignment. You are no longer trying to escape your past or outrun uncertainty. You are walking with awareness, and awareness changes how everything unfolds. You might notice that your emotional reactions have softened, not because you care less, but because you see more. Situations that once felt personal now appear contextual. You understand that not everything is about you, and not every resistance is rejection. That understanding protects your heart. It keeps you from carrying unnecessary weight, and it allows you to remain open without becoming exposed. This balance was not given lightly. It was earned through moments when closing off would have been easier than staying receptive. I remember realizing that I could feel disappointment without spiraling, that I could acknowledge frustration without letting it define my mood for days. That shift was subtle, but it marked a turning point. It meant I had learned how to feel without drowning. Chosen one. That same resilience is now part of you. You are no longer afraid of emotion because you trust your ability to move through it. This season is also refining how you relate to time. You are less obsessed with when things will happen and more attentive to how you are showing up now. You understand that rushing outcomes often creates misalignment, while honoring process builds stability. Patience is no longer something you force yourself into. It is becoming a natural expression of trust. There will be moments when you are tempted to compare your pace with others, especially when their paths look more visible or celebrated. When that happens, return to truth. Visibility is not the same as significance. Many things that look impressive do not last. What you are building is designed for endurance, not applause. That design required slowness, discernment, and depth. Chosen one, you are also learning to release the need to be understood by everyone. That need often comes from old survival patterns from times when misunderstanding felt dangerous. But now misunderstanding no longer threatens your safety. It simply clarifies alignment. You are discovering that peace comes not from agreement, but from authenticity. Being true costs less energy than performing, and that energy is now being invested in what actually matters. Your sense of purpose is becoming quieter, but stronger. You do not feel the need to announce it or explain it. You feel it internally like a steady current, rather than a sudden surge. That steadiness will guide you through decisions that require nuance, not urgency. It will help you recognize when to wait and when to act without external pressure dictating your pace. Chosen one. This phase will also ask you to trust rest as much as effort. Rest is not retreat. It is integration. Integration allows lessons to settle into wisdom rather than remain as information. You have learned much. Now you are embodying what you learned. That embodiment requires space, reflection, and stillness. Do not rush to fill every quiet moment. Quiet is where clarity deepens. There may be days when nothing dramatic happens, when life feels ordinary again. Do not mistake ordinariness for stagnation. Growth often looks mundane from the inside. Seeds do not announce their progress. They grow quietly until one day something breaks the surface. You are in a season where roots are strengthening, What rises next will be supported because of what is settling now. You may also notice that your compassion has changed. You still care deeply, but you no longer carry other people's burdens as if they were yours to fix. You understand the difference between support and responsibility. That boundary preserves your energy and honors others' journeys. It is not your role to rescue, it is your role to remain aligned. Chosen one, as alignment continues, you will find yourself making simpler choices. Not because life is simplistic, but because your values are clearer. Clarity reduces noise. When you know what matters, decisions become less complicated. You stop negotiating with yourself over things that do not align, and that decisiveness brings peace. There will be moments when old narratives try to resurface, questioning whether stability can last or whether you are truly moving forward. When those thoughts arise, remember how far you have come. Not in distance, but in depth. You are not the same person who entered the last season. You carry wisdom now that did not exist before. That wisdom will continue to guide you. Chosen one. You are learning to trust the unfolding without demanding constant reassurance. That trust is not blind. It is informed by experience, by evidence of faithfulness over time. You have seen what happens when you remain aligned, even when clarity lags behind. That memory anchors you now. As you move through this phase, allow yourself to be present with what is without constantly reaching for what is next. Presence sharpens discernment. It allows you to notice opportunities that rushing would miss. It keeps you grounded in reality instead of projection. This season is not asking you to become someone else. It is inviting you to live fully as who you are now without apology or fear. You have been shaped carefully. Nothing about you is accidental. The pace, the process, the pauses, all served a purpose. Chosen one, stay grounded in truth. Stay gentle with yourself. Stay attentive to what feels aligned rather than what feels impressive. What is unfolding is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to fit you. And as you continue forward, trust that the steadiness you feel is not the absence of movement, but the foundation that allows movement to last. Chosen one. There is a sacred calm that comes after long endurance, and it is not the calm of stagnation, but the calm of things finally settling into their rightful order. You may notice that you are no longer scanning the horizon anxiously for signs. You are not measuring every day for proof that something is happening. Instead, there is a quiet knowing beneath the surface that tells you movement is already underway, even if it has not yet become visible. This knowing did not come from optimism, it came from experience. You have learned that God often moves deepest before he moves loudest. That understanding changes how you wait. You are no longer waiting with tension in your body or restlessness in your spirit. You are waiting with readiness. Readiness looks like stability. It looks like consistency. It looks like caring deeply without gripping tightly. That posture matters more than you realize. Chosen one. This is a season where you are being invited to live gently but firmly. Gently with yourself, because you no longer need to punish yourself for not arriving sooner. Firmly in your boundaries, because you now understand the cost of letting misalignment linger. This balance between gentleness and firmness is wisdom. It protects what God has built in you without closing your heart. There may be moments when you feel a quiet gratitude rise unexpectedly, even without a clear reason. That gratitude is not tied to circumstances. It is tied to alignment. When the inner world comes into order, peace follows naturally. Peace does not mean everything is finished. It means you're no longer fighting yourself. I remember realizing that I could trust my own pace without guilt, that I did not need to hurry my healing or rush my growth to match anyone else's timeline. That realization was freeing. It returned dignity to my journey. Chosen one, that same dignity is returning to yours. You are no longer apologizing for the time it took to become whole. This phase is also refining how you relate to hope. Hope is no longer a fragile wish that rises and falls with circumstances. It is becoming a steady orientation toward the future. You are hopeful without being dependent on outcomes. That kind of hope is resilient. It does not collapse under disappointment because it is anchored deeper than circumstance. You may notice that your faith feels quieter but more integrated into daily life. It is no longer something you turn on in crisis and forget in calm. It is woven into how you think, choose rest, and speak. This integration is what sustains you long term. Faith that is only reactive becomes exhausting. Faith that is integrated becomes grounding. Chosen one, you are also learning to honor the present moment without constantly comparing it to what was or what might be. Comparison steals presence. Presence sharpens discernment. You are choosing presence now even when it feels ordinary. Ordinary moments are where stability is built. There may be days when nothing seems to shift externally, and that is okay. Not every day is meant to feel significant. Consistency often does more for your future than intensity ever could. You are building something that lasts, not something that impresses briefly. As this part of the journey continues, trust that what is being formed in you is just as important as what will eventually flow through you. Character always precedes capacity. You have been shaped carefully, deliberately, patiently. That shaping did not end. It matured. Chosen one, remain attentive but relaxed, faithful but unforced, open but discerning. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be for what comes next. This season is not asking you to strive harder. It is inviting you to stay aligned. Alignment is what allows the next step to reveal itself naturally without strain. Stay rooted, stay honest, stay present. What has been quietly established within you will continue to guide what unfolds around you with precision, grace, and purpose. Chosen one. As this chapter draws to a close, what remains is not a sense of ending, but a deeper settling into truth. You're not arriving somewhere new as much as you are inhabiting what has been forming within you all along. There is a quiet steadiness now, a grounded awareness that you no longer need to chase clarity or force meaning. Meaning has begun to meet you where you stand. You may notice that your questions have changed. You are no longer asking whether God is with you. You are asking how to walk wisely with what He has already entrusted to you. That shift marks maturity. Faith is no longer a search for reassurance. It is a partnership shaped by trust. You move differently because you trust differently. This season invites you to honor the simplicity of obedience. Not dramatic gestures, not grand declarations, but daily alignment. Showing up when it would be easier to disengage, choosing honesty over convenience, resting without guilt. These quiet choices carry more spiritual weight than visible achievements. They anchor your life in truth. The chosen one. You are also learning how to release outcomes without losing intention. You care deeply, but you are no longer consumed by control. Control once felt like safety. Now, surrender feels safer. That surrender is not passive. It is active trust, shaped by experience. You've seen what happens when you remain aligned even when clarity lags behind. That memory steadies you. There may still be moments of uncertainty, but they no longer unsettle you. Uncertainty has become a space of listening rather than fear. You understand now that not knowing does not mean being lost. Often, it means being guided one step at a time. That pace preserves humility and attentiveness. You may also feel a renewed respect for your own journey. Not pride, but appreciation. You recognize the courage it took to stay soft when hardening would have been easier. You honor the resilience it took to keep believing without visible evidence. That respect restores dignity to your story, I Chosen One. As you continue forward, allow yourself to live without constant self-evaluation. You do not need to measure every moment for progress. Growth is happening even when it feels subtle. Trust the process that has already proven faithful. This chapter has not been about becoming extraordinary. It has been about becoming aligned. Alignment allows whatever is meant to flow through you to do so without distortion. That is what makes a life sustainable. Stay rooted in what is true. Stay present with what is unfolding. Stay open to learning without returning to striving. You are not behind. You are not unfinished. You are positioned. Chosen One, as this moment closes, do not rush back into the noise of the world. Let this truth settle into your spirit. Your sealed prophecy is opening, your hidden scroll is being revealed, and you are standing in your exact Kairos moment, the time written for you on heaven's clock. What God waited to reveal, He is now entrusting to you because you are ready to carry it. Anointed One, remain faithful, stay aligned. Walk gently but boldly into what is unfolding. Give thanks in advance for what is about to manifest, even before you see it. Heaven has gone before you, and nothing has been wasted. If this word bore witness in your spirit, you may quietly affirm it below, or stay connected as this journey continues. Go in peace, go in clarity, and go knowing God has spoken, and it is done.